Hi, this is Zagcizes, and I'm just going to be talking to you about the basics of Doom Builder and the mechanics of how it works and all that. So, when you first start, it will come up like this, but you'll need to download it obviously first. So, if you just type in download Doom Builder, you'll come up to this page on the first link, and I'll just talk a little bit about it and some of its information, and then you just go downloads, which will take it to its download mirrors. Now, I'll download Doom 2 because it has more features. It's got newer stuff in it, and yeah, so but if you got an older computer, I'd use this one, just use the older one, but I'd preferably use the newer versions. Now, so you can just download there are two of the links for it. Okay, so once you do that, you'll need the internet connection. You just install it, and you'll come up to this page. Now, it might look a bit confusing where to start. So basically, you just click new page map. Then game configuration is like you can start off in like easier versions, just like Doom and Doom 2, but if you want to use a bit more advanced, which I'm going to use, is Zdoom in hexen format, which gives you more opportunities to build more interesting maps, and just leave it at map 01, but if you're trying to add another level into another WAD file, you can change it, say 10, but leave it at 01. And then you've got resources, which is the actual file. So you'll need to get a Doom WAD file, which will give you all the information like the guns and all the noises and all that sort of stuff. So once you do that, just click OK, and you only need that WAD, but you need Doom 2 or Doom 1 WAD to actually give you the information. Now, it'll just bring up grid lines and all that, so that might be a bit confusing, but basically down at the bottom it will say what format you've got it in. Then you'll say it's ready, so it's not adding anything or giving a refresh to the resources. Now, see how you got the grid, and it's sort of relatively big for the grid. If you zoom in, you can change that to make more intricate level design. So then you can make a little box for something, and then you can make something really, really big, which is very, very big. But you just leave it, it always comes up in 32. And if you're just wanting to make basic rooms, I'll leave it like that. So, and then you got your zoom, which you can change just from here. But it's easier to make just zoom in with the scrolling on your mouse scroller. Now it's going to tell you down here say that it's got 192 and then minus 495, and that's just the position on the map where the mouse is. Okay, so when you've got all these little buttons up here, it makes it a lot easier. Now we'll start off with vertices, which is just basically these little dots that you got. So if you press the insert button on your keyboard, and that you'll get dots. Okay, so then that makes like the basis if you want to make the outline for a room and see if it's what you want, and you can just right click and hold and move them around as well. And then you can right click and actually change the position. It'll tell you the position properties as well with X and Y axis. Okay, but if you want to make the actual room, you go line depth mode or L, and then you insert and you just connect them to each grid, and it's going to connect to each grid, so if you want to stop there you can, and it will tell the measurements. Okay, so that's your basic room there. It's just giving you the outlines of it. So the darkest sort of white, the brighter one, is the outline of it. So if I make a little room here, a little room here, that will become a bit more lighter or darker, and it will just mean that that's not the end of the room, it's just another line there. We'll shrink it back. Okay, so then you go here, which is sectors mode, or S. Okay, and it'll tell you down here when you're not selected anything. Now that just means if you've got, say, 2 rooms, you can select it and change it, and then it gives you can right click and it'll tell you all the stuff about it, and that just gives you each room, not each line, so it'll just tell you about that. And then you got brightness mode, which if you're in visual mode, which I'll tell you about later, I'll tell you about that. You got make sectors mode, which is S. Now say you've got 2 sectors joined together like that, and you want to separate them, you just click on it and it'll sort of flash a bit white there, and that's what it is. Then things mode is all the monsters and all the guns and all that stuff that you can pick up in the game. Now when you start off, you always want to have player 1, but this is what you'll get in it. You get all this portals and all this other stuff, weapons, monsters, teleporters, but you basically always want player start 1. Now leave it, all of this other stuff, deathmatch, all that, otherwise it will not start in Zdoom. But if you're playing in a simple version, it won't, like Doom 2, making, it won't bring this up, so I won't bring up that, and I wouldn't make yourself invisible or friendly, just leave all that, and make sure you leave it here, because if you start in easy, it won't have an actual character to start with. Okay, now if you want to make it so, you want to make it turn a certain way, you click here, and that means you'll start off there, and it will point the arrow whichever way you're starting. And say you want to make some monsters to shoot, you put, say, like, former humans are easiest to kill, but we'll make it a bit harder. Now, if you want it to face that way so it doesn't attack you when you first start, I'll put it like that, and it'll tell you the angle where it is as well here. So it tells you where it's pointing, which is helpful. Okay, and then let's sort of give ourselves an easier option to kill it with. Let's put shotgun and shells. Now, in this sort of mode, it doesn't really matter, but if you're using Risen 3D, which is a fully 3D version of Doom, which I'll make soon for a downloader, it will matter which way everything points. So, well, like the monsters, it's going to be like that, but in the weapons, it will matter. But remember as well, leave everything. If you don't click on this, it will won't be able to start it. And that's the thing. If you say make a monster and you don't want it to be on the easier levels, you can say let's just get another imp. Okay, click there, and you can say deselect easy, and it won't have a tick next to it. And if you want to make a really hard one, you put that. So when you start, it will only show this one on easy, and these ones will be shown on harder levels. Okay, so that's what happens now. As well, with all the weapons, you want to still make sure, because when you start again it won't be selected, so that's what you need to make sure. Let's put a medikit just in case. Now that's what you'll need to do. So only this one will start in easy, and these two won't. So if you go up here, which is visual mode, or W I've configured, and that now it will start you off here. Now you move your mouse around and it shows you a 3D view of what's in here. Okay, so you've got your guns. Now with the monsters, if it's facing that way, it doesn't matter, but because in this editing mode it doesn't tell you which way it's actually facing, it just shows you what the picture of it will look like. So even though you're facing that way, it will show you it's facing your way, but that doesn't matter, so don't freak out about it. So this is visual mode where you can see everything. You can click things through here and do that, and you can so if you want to change everything in this room, like the textures on the wall, you click on each of them, it'll sort of flash red. Now you right click, then you got to side defs and middle, and you've got your sector, all this information now, because it's not a back, like it doesn't have another room connecting onto it, it won't show back. But if you're trying to change middle textures, and you have a other texture that's not a wall with nothing behind it, will make a fake wall that won't be impassable. You'll be able to walk through it, but you won't know that unless, like, if someone else is playing it. So we'll just give ourselves a brick texture, or big brick. So this can change what everything looks like, and will make everything interesting to play like. Okay, so then I just go out and then do that to deselect it, and you can right click and you can click on it or not if you don't want it. And then if you want to change the floor, just go floor, and then you go floor 7 for example, and then ceiling 5. So it changes the whole look of the game as well. So in here it's going to show you the sector height. Now in total it's 128, so if we put it to 64, when you click that, it will shrink this whole ceiling down, which will make it very small space, but we'll just leave it like 128. And then you can change the brightness from darker like that to even brighter, so everything will look different once you do that. But I'll leave it like that. And tags are for when you're doing doors, but I'll have another tutorial coming soon about that. Okay, so once you do that, and specials is you can make things like light glow, and you can go generalize to make it easier. So a secret is like a secret room, but we won't leave that, and that's easier to see, but we'll just cancel that. But just leave it as a normal. So this is just the normal height and brightness. But if you want to, with your mouse and the scroll pad, you can lower it down to as low as you want, or you can make it high. But if you lower it too much, you won't actually be able to move. If it's pushing on the character down, you won't be able to actually move, so I wouldn't want to do that. And down the bottom left corner of it, it will tell you the type and the imp, and then it will tell you action if there is an action with it, and the position. Same with everything, all the things. It'll just tell you where you are on the map as well. At the bottom right corner of the screen, it'll tell you where you are, the actual visual map is. But if you want to see where it's going to start off as well, go to things mode, go edit things and visual camera mode, and you can move this around. So if I move it back here, when I go into visual mode again, it will start there. Okay, so you can go around, and then it will show you where it is, just so you can see where the camera's about to start, and you can place it different places as well. So that's the basics of visual mode. So that's with brightness mode, which is if you press B or you press brightness mode, then go here, and that's going to increase brightness, and that does turn off that as well. It does turn off the things mode as well. So yeah, and so once you're in visual, you can do all that changing of the roofs and all that, and you just move it around by clicking ESDF instead of AWSD, which is like the main one, game sort of configuration. That's what you can do, so you can see what everything will look like, because if you don't actually do this with a lot of things, you won't be able to actually play your map if you don't change it through visual mode, and it will show you what it will look like as well. So once you do that as well, edit section mode is you would click on an area, for example, and then you can edit it from there, which means you can pick it up and move it, the whole area. Now it won't move the things, it'll only move that. So if you want to move something, that's what will happen, and you'll need to say move it whole across in things mode and Control C or this button to completely copy everything, and just delete if you want to delete it. So you just do that, and then and remember, things that are selected will change with that. So then you can get line defs, and then you can, if you want to say copy this whole room, you just do line defs and copy the outside, and then Control C or that button up there, then you just click that and it'll completely copy it as well. And then you have two different rooms here, okay, and they're exactly the same measurements, exactly the same thing you copied, but they're not. You just basically copied, and if you want to say put the same monsters in there, same everything, you can do that, but I'm not going to today. Okay, so you can, once that's selected, you can press delete, but as well, there's this find replace mode, which you can replace certain things with, and then map analyst mode. If say I go into line defs and I click and I put in passable, and that means you won't be able to start the map because that's an error. It will start it. Now it doesn't usually show, but if something's overlapping or something more serious, so that's good for certain things, but I'll put it always like that. Now with these two buttons up here, snap to grid means if it's unselected means you can draw any which way you want, but I don't recommend it if you're trying to make perfect measurements. It'll make it equal. So say we want to do that, it'll connect with vertices that are already put into place, but it'll make the room, but it won't make it like snapped to grid. So this is where you can completely pick it up, move it around, and that's where you can move them around if you click on that, or vertices, which will pick up just that vertices, and it'll show you what you want it to be. And then yeah, so that's what that does. And then you've got here's merge geometry, but I'll just leave that because I have tried it and it doesn't really do anything. So that yeah, so that's the basics with those two buttons and most of the buttons. And here is the easier way to actually make smaller things, because you can see how the grid size goes smaller. So that's what you do, or you can make it really, really big, or really, really small, down to small little, and you can make one, which is very, very small editing. But if that's what you want to do, you can do that. So you come up and there you've got your rooms connected, and this is just as well, like you can fit it to screen, or just do that. And yeah, so this button up here is the test map, which if you click it, it will start the map. But this is the mode you can start it in. So you can make it the hardest mode, which will show all of this. But because we selected them to be not started on easiest mode, so that's what will happen. And yeah, so that's just a testing area. And then you've got, if you say want to make a sort of curved line to make it more like a realistic sort of room, or just not so it's all box sort of like, you click on the line depth, which is already in, click on it, and then you do that. Now if you want to make it the other way, you just fix the curves, and then you can make double the vertices to make it more detailed. But that will lead, if you go into visual, will make a lot of little highlighted areas, which means it will take a lot of things to change it, but it gives you more detail and more easy sort of detail, so you'd need to click on it to say change a texture or something. So that's an easy way to make more things realistic in that. So if you want to save it, you just go save, or the little button there, and you could just name it whatever you want. So we'll just go test 2, okay, and then it saves, and it will just tell you building map nodes. It will just take as long as it does, and it will just come up with this. This is just some of my stuff that happened. And close, and then opening maps is there, and that is a new map, so that will bring up this again. Now this button that I avoided from the beginning is the script editor, which is a bit more advanced for making more advanced things, and this is just something that I don't usually use, just the button. But that has all the things that you've used recently. And then it has, you can do all the copy and pasting, and then it has the grid setup, which is this button down here, except it's more advanced, so you can change it to what you want. And then you just click OK, and then map options is adding or changing this sort of stuff. And say you want to remove it, you just click remove, okay, but I wouldn't, because that means it wouldn't have anything, any textures or any color in that. And then you can increase and decrease the grid by those two buttons. And then you've got view, which here it's already always assigned on floor textures. So if you want to see it from this mode here, just from the 2D mode, it will show you the textures of the floor and the ceiling. It won't show you the line depths, but if you're in line depths mode, you can see down just a bit below to down the bottom of the screen, it will show you what texture it is and where it is, like if it's in the upper texture, lower area, and it'll just give you the details as well. And then it has script editor, which is here again. Okay, so then go here and you can zoom from this, and it'll show the zooming. Then from here, it gives you all the details saying what it is, and then what what's it called, the shortcut for it, hotkeys are. So that's what it's good. And then have all this stuff for it, and then you can change flip line depths, which is F. If you're in line depths, it means it'll turn around, but I wouldn't want to do that when there's no wall behind it, otherwise it won't be able to start. So that's what it is. Just gives you more detail there. And then it will has the curve lines and split line depths as well. And tools has errors and warnings, which is that screen that came up before when I saved it, which is just some of my errors for it. And then you have game configuration, which will change. You can select what sort of games type you want, but I wouldn't do this if you're wanting, like if you've made half a map and then you want to change it, you'd want to make a completely different map, because every action that you've made is different in each format, so you'd want to leave that. And the resources don't show here, but you'd do it on that other menu. And then I've just left it like this. And then testing, you'll need a Zdoom execute button, which is this, and I'll always leave it on 1 just for, that's not as hard if you're testing it. And then modes, just leave everything on like that, and you can actually change what you want to start up in when you start up, so I just leave it like that, vertices and that. And you just click OK, and if you've changed something, it will load. And then you can change preferences, which will just show you all the controls, interfaces, appearance, like with everything, and pasting and editing, all that. So I just leave it as it is, and then you can click test map up the top, and you can go about Doom Builder and all this other stuff, so it just tells you a bit more about it. But yeah, so another thing up here is if you want to only show the easy skill in things mode, for example, it'll highlight more what's the easy skill, and it will show, if you go hard skill, it will just show what the hard skill will show, everything else but the hard skill as well, and then you can just go show all to show everything. But it's, yeah, so that's the thing, so you can tell what's what, and it makes it a bit easier. And this is configure things filter. We'll just talk about what's in each. So right, and if you're in visual mode, you click T, it will take away all of the things in the map, just so you can see what's around here, and just so you can edit things, because if you want to edit this and it's full of things, it won't be able to do it. So, and if you click it again, it will just have the outline. It won't actually have a box, but it's easier to see what a box is, because these sort of reddish sort of box around it, if you're in things mode, that's the little button it is for it. It shows you the red, so it tells you what type it is as well. And if you're wanting it to face a certain way, you'd want it to face whichever way as well. So, yeah, and then yeah, so that's it. And if you want to go to the ground, you press G, and it will fall to the gravity. So if I make this a bit higher than that, it will go up automatically. You go to the lowest floor and that. And if you want to get brightness, say I make this room completely dark, so I'll go right down to 0, so it's pitch dark. I want to see it, but I don't want to actually have to brighten it to see what's in it. If I put a monster there, I press B, and it will make everything to the brightest setting, and then click it again, it will stop that. Okay, so that's what you can do, and then just do that, go up to where it was. And so that's some of the basics with those mechanics on the buttons, and you can change it, like it tells you up here what every key is, what button it does, and that. So hopefully this tutorial has helped, and I will be bringing out a tutorial about where to download the Doom 2 WAD file and the Zdoom, or Zdoom, whatever, file, so you can actually test your maps and start up. But yeah, so shoot me a message if you want to that, but don't literally shoot me. But yeah, so give me a message on the YouTube, or on this actual my page, or just on the thing, like on the video itself, and I'll try and get around to them as easy as I can. And yeah, so hopefully this has helped, and I'll be making tutorials on basics as well. And then I'll be making them on script editing, which uses this mechanic to write tricky stuff. It's not that hard once you know, but it is hard to start off. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be showing. So subscribe and like for more of this stuff, more tutorials and that, and hope it helped a lot. So this is just the basics of it. So Zagcizes out, everybody. So thanks.